I like the picture that hangs. All those fish at the boat started to sing. Yeah. I've had some pretty good fishing trips, but I've never been that successful. We're going to stand and sing There Is a Habitation. There is a habitation built by the living God for all of every nation who seek that grand abode. O Zion, Zion, I long thy gates to see. That's the one that I attend, and I really enjoy watching that particular
I don't know if it's a TV show, a movie, I don't know what you call it. Series. But I invite you to come and be a part of that at 2 o'clock. Well, I want to welcome you to our service this morning, and I'm going to ask you this morning to use your imagination. I want you to visualize a fishing scene out on a lake. More specifically, it's the Lake of Gennesaret that Joe just read for us, also known as the Sea of Galilee. It's in Israel. It's up in northern Galilee. It happened about 2,000 years ago. And we're going to look at the story from the book of Luke chapter 5. So I hope that you'll open a Bible to Luke chapter 5. We'll get there in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you about the series of lessons that we're in for the next few weeks. It's entitled How God Turns Setbacks into Comebacks. We live in a broken world, on a broken planet. Everybody has problems. Anybody here does not have any problems? Raise your hand. Because you're going to come up and preach the sermon. We all have problems. We all have issues. We all go through trials and have losses and failures and setbacks. All kinds of setbacks. It may be a financial setback. It may be a health setback. It may be a relationship setback. Maybe you have a setback in your marriage, or with your boyfriend or girlfriend, or maybe your dream for life is just not where it ought to be, and it's set you back, way back. Well, during this series, we're going to look at how God helped people in the Bible overcome their setbacks, and He turned them into comebacks. So whatever issue you're going through, I think it'll apply to you. We're going to start with looking at what to do when you've had a business setback. Now, I was thinking this week as I was reading this story, fishing. And who do I know that really loves fishing? Well, I know a lot of people, but my grandpa loved to go fishing. That was his favorite recreational time spent. So if you went to see Grandpa, you went fishing. We had all kinds of fun growing up fishing and swimming in the lake. And if you've ever been around a fisherman, you know they have fisherman stories. Well, I caught a big fish. I don't know how old I was, but he gave me a fishing pole and a hook, and I cast it out and I hooked him right in the back. And he gave me a pair of pliers and said, "Here, get it out." And that was not fun. But it's a good memory nevertheless. And that's my only fishing story, because I don't do much fishing unless it's for a golf ball that I hit in the water, which happens all the time. But the more they tell the stories, the bigger the fish get, right? If you've ever felt discouraged by your work, by your job, by your business, if you've ever felt like you're not getting anything accomplished, if you feel tired, if you're worn out, putting your heart and soul into something, maybe you lost your job after you gave it your everything. Well, you picked a good weekend to come to church. This story is actually going to give us the lessons of what to do when you have a business setback. None of the fishing miracles that you've heard in your lifetime will match this one. None of those stories will match this one, as Sid pointed out just a moment ago. Now, let's have a little bit of background. Peter and Andrew are brothers. James and John are brothers. These four guys have a fishing business together in northern Israel around the beautiful Lake of Galilee. If you attended our geography class, we spent a lot of time at the Lake of Galilee. Now, it's also called the Sea of Galilee, the Sea of Tiberias, or the Sea of Gennesaret, depending on the language that was written in the story or who was speaking. It was called different things. It's also just an incredibly beautiful place. But we pick up the story, Peter, James, John, and Andrew, they're not his disciples yet. Okay? We always think of them as his disciples, but they're not there yet. They're just professional businessmen. They make a living fishing. They've been out all night fishing on the Sea of Galilee, caught nothing. Nada. Zip. Zero. The lake is in recession. Nobody's biting right now. It's just awful. It's terrible. They don't catch anything. They make no profit. They've worked hard. Now they come ashore. It's morning. They've been out 10 hours fishing all night. They're cleaning their nets with nothing to show for it. They're tired. They're discouraged. Anybody relate? I mean, we all can at some point in our lives. So now we are Luke chapter 5. We're in verse 4. Can you hit that next button for me? After Jesus finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Now launch out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we worked hard all night. We haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down the nets." Now, I want you to picture it. Use your imagination. I want you to be there, on that boat, or on the shoreline with them as they talk. Jesus is done speaking, and he looks over at Simon. "Simon, launch out into deep water. Let's put the nets back down and go fishing again." Now remember, they fished all night. These are professional fishermen. Simon's probably saying and thinking, "We've worked hard all night, haven't caught anything. This makes no sense. You're not a fisherman. You don't know what you're talking about. We haven't made a single sale. We haven't closed one deal. We haven't stepped up our game. We haven't signed any contracts. It's been miserable." Now sometimes that happens in life. Sometimes you give it your best shot, you still end up 10 feet short. Sometimes you even do what you think is right in your job, in your career. You make the right decision. You may even believe God is leading you to do it, but it doesn't pan out. You had a setback. It's what this series is all about. Watching Jesus turn it around into a comeback. You'll start this business, it falls apart. Doesn't make a profit. You go deep in debt. Sometimes you hang in there with your marriage and you struggle and you get counseling and you read books on marriage and you don't see any improvement. It's just the way life is. Sometimes we have setbacks. "Well, I'm fishing for a job. I need work." Nothing wrong with that. Everybody's fishing for something. These fishermen, these 4 guys, do exactly what Jesus tells them to do in this miracle, and that's crucial. They not only receive a miracle, but they are blessed more than they can handle. They have more blessing than they can handle themselves. They have to share the blessing. They actually have to share their blessing with other people. Wouldn't it be great to have it in your life? Their lives are changed forever. So Jesus uses Simon Peter's boat as a platform to preach the good news. The Bible tells us the rest of the story. This is what it says. After Jesus finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Launch out into the deep water and let down your nets for a catch." When they had done so, here it is. When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish, their nets began to break. So they signaled to their partners, James and John, in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats so full of fish, they began to sink. That's a lot of fish. It's an incredible amount of fish. They signal their partners, "Hey, come over and help us." That's a fish story, is it not? They caught more in 10 minutes than they had caught in 10 hours when they did it Jesus' way. When they finally listened to the Lord, this is how you turn a setback into a comeback. It's called the miracle of acceleration. It's when God speeds things up. They catch more in 10 minutes than they had in the previous 10 hours. You understand the principle of this miracle of acceleration. You're not going to worry about timing. You might go a month, you might go 2 months or 2 years without work. It doesn't matter, because God can turn on the faucet as quickly as the other one got turned off. He can do more in 10 minutes than you can do in 10 years, as long as you're doing it His way. When you finally say, "Lord, I'm willing to do whatever you say," and the first thing you need to do is what Peter, Andrew, James, and John did. I want you to write this down. There's a fill-in-the-blank outline. Maybe you picked it up out there on the table, and it was right by the bulletin. Number 1, I give Jesus complete access to my business. If I want to go from emptiness to overflowing, notice what it says in verse 3. Jesus got into one of the boats. That's the one thing that belongs to Simon. I have to get Jesus in my boat. I've got to get him in the boat. Now here's the starting point, pretty simple. You have to get Jesus in your boat if you want him to bless your career. Get him on board. Notice what the difference is. It's the same lake, same boat, same fishermen, same fish. Everything is exactly the same. They went out, the only difference, it was night, now it's day. But if you were in geography class, you know they fished at night because that's when the fish were biting, the way they caught them. In the daytime, you're not going to catch any fish. That's the other miracle of this story. Now, so they go out at a time when the fish shouldn't be there. So what's the difference? Jesus is in the boat. That's the only difference I can see. Jesus is now in the boat. It's a game changer. Get him in your boat. Give him access to your business. Now let me apply the setback in your life, in your business, your salary, your commission, whatever we're talking about. What does it mean to have Jesus in my boat? Does that mean I give him all my money? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about salvation here at the moment. You can have Jesus in your life, but not in your boat. You can have Jesus in your life, but not in your job. You've trusted and obeyed. You're a Christian. You're a child of God. You come to church on Sunday. You praise the Lord. But on Monday morning, you go back to work and you leave him at church. Or you put him on the shelf at home. Jesus is not using your boat. He's not at your job. He needs to use it as a platform for ministry and mission. He used that boat to preach a sermon. He used that boat for his ministry. To give Jesus your boat, give him complete access. I dedicate my career, Lord, for your use. I dedicate every aspect of my life for your use. And when Peter finally did this, he gave his job to Jesus for God to use. He is blessed more than he can handle. Question. What do you do when God blesses your life? Say thank you, absolutely. Whatever you want God to bless, put him in it first. Put him as the top priority. Put him as number one. You want God to bless your time? Give him time. Give him the first part of your time. You want God to bless your week? Give him the first part of the week. You get Jesus walking alongside you. You go to work. You say, I want you to use my business, Lord. I want you to use me at work as an instrument of righteousness. And let him take control of everything. You become a marketplace missionary. You become a missionary to your job. Some of you are going through rough times right now. You're trying to change everything. Let me tell you, these guys that have been fishing all night, they didn't catch anything. They didn't need new nets. They didn't need a new boat. They didn't need new partners. They didn't need new anything. They just needed Jesus in the boat. Would you think about your life and how you go about your life? We try changing everything except what needs to be changed. Number 2. I admit that my efforts aren't working. If I want to move from setback to comeback, I have to admit my efforts aren't working. Look at verse 4. When Jesus had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into deep water, let down your nets. Look at what Peter says. Master, we've worked hard all night, haven't caught anything. That's confession. I've been doing it this way. I know how to do my job, Lord. So I've been doing it this way, and I haven't. It's a failure. Now, he didn't necessarily mean it as a failure, but it was a failure. When you're experienced at your career, your job, you fish all night, you don't catch anything, it's humbling to admit you failed. Sometimes our best just isn't good enough. Sometimes our situation's out of control. You can't control the economy, you can't control the weather, you can't control your business, your life. There are a lot of things you can't control. Now, why do we want to admit that I fished all night and I haven't caught anything? I don't really know what I'm doing. It's just not working. Well, we have all kinds of reasons, but regardless of whether it's pride or stubbornness or whatever, the second step is just admit it's not working. Number 3. Do whatever Jesus tells you to do. Just do what he tells you to do. Master, we fished all night, we caught nothing, but because you say so, I'll do it. Lord, because you just told me to, I'll do it. That's the third key. Trust the Word of God. Because he said so. Not because I think it's smart, not because it's popular, not because it's reasonable or makes sense. This didn't. Not because I can afford it. God, I'm going to do what you tell me to do because you say so. Not only is Jesus in the boat, he's now giving the fishermen instructions about how to fish. He's a carpenter. Push back out. Throw your nets on the novel idea. Throw your nets on the other side. You know, they get just as stuck as we do. I'm right-handed, tend to do things on the right side. Jesus says, why don't you try the other side? Do something different. Shake it up. Change it. You're in for so many blessings, you won't be able to handle them all. Now let's think about it for a minute. They didn't say that. Let's appoint a committee and explore the option. Didn't say that. They just did it. Lord said it, they just did it. They didn't hesitate, didn't delay. Question. What has God told you to do that you're not doing? Whatever you do, whatever God tells you to do, just say, okay, Lord, because you say so. And let me have a quick aside on this. The greatest risk of all is not doing what Jesus says to do. That's the greatest risk of all. Because you're going to miss out on all the blessings he has planned for you and all the rewards that he has planned for you in eternity. You were afraid to launch into the deep. You were afraid to try again. You were afraid to cast a net on the other side because you thought you knew better than he did. Number 4. Expect Jesus to turn things around. Follow me on this logic. All the fear, all the fatigue, they are tired, they've been working all night, they may even be a little bit lethargic. If God created the fish that were in that lake, he can command them to all come here. Right? Follow the logic.
Yeah.
He created the fish, they're probably down there sleeping somewhere in the deep. He can say, hey fish, come here. See that net? Go get the net. All right, guys, let down your nets. I just told all the fish to come here. He can get what you need. He can take care of you, but you have to do it his way. It's the starting point from turning a setback into a comeback. I don't work for a company, I work for Jesus. I'm a missionary at my workplace. They caught such a large number of fish, the nets began to break. They couldn't handle the blessing. They had to signal their partners to come over and help. They filled both boats so full they began to sink. More blessing than they can handle. They had to share in order to not go under, to not sink. Now, I've seen it personally in my life. Have you? God has blessed me so much, it's just incredible. I've had to share it with so many other people. God is looking for people to bless. He's looking for people to show his power through. He wants you to do whatever he asks so that people can see him at work in your life. Peter is not yet a disciple of Christ. He's a fisherman. He's just a fisherman. He's a businessman. This miracle is the turning point in the lives of these 4 men, Peter, John, James, and Andrew. This miracle, though, is not about money. It's not about possessions. It's not about success. It's not about anything material. It's about finding God's purpose for your life. It's not about keeping a whole bunch of fish for yourself. It's not about how much profit they're going to make. It's about the kingdom of God. He's getting ready to call these guys to give up everything they have, including this same business, and follow him. I want you to become fishers of men. Trust me, I'll take care of you. He He's getting to enlist these 4 guys in his plan, in his ministry. When he calls disciples, I want you to notice, he's calling these fishermen to leave everything they have. They leave those stinking fish in their boat, I guess, because they left and followed him. I don't know what they did with the fish. It doesn't tell us. They didn't even clean them. They're not thinking, oh, what a great night. We have enough fish here to set us up for the next several weeks or months. We're in the money. It's not what they're thinking. What did they do? They left their job and followed him. That's the big point I want you to get. Would you look at your life? What's God calling you to? Where in your business, in your career, in your job, can you listen to Him as He calls you, and what's He telling you to do? We're about to sing this song, What a Friend We Have in Jesus. Is that it? Oh boy, and what a friend He is. He's going to take care of us in every way. So as you explore your life, as we sing this song, if we can assist you in your journey with Christ, we want to do that. One of our shepherds will be back here in the office in that corner. If you just go over there, if it's something private, if it's more public, you want to come and let us all hold you accountable, come to the front. If you're not yet a child of God, we'd love to sit down and study with you about becoming a Christian. But would you come to the front as we stand and as we sing?